Hey guys, welcome back to Dip Switch Demos. My name is Jackson and today we are checking out the Fender Play Plus Nashville Telecaster. Soft spot for Nashville Telecasters, and I have quite a lot of experience using them in the past, and let me tell you, they're really interesting beasts. You might think on paper that it's the best of both worlds between a Tele and a Strat, and while it sort of is, it also really isn't. If that makes sense. No, it doesn't. Let me explain it. With a Nashville Tele, you sort of, in my experience, you lose maybe 15-20% of that Telecaster magic, and you only gain a little bit of that Strat flavour. I'm using funny words here. Now, what Fender have managed to do with the Player Plus Nashville is kind of get all that Nashville kind of sauce without losing any of that Telecaster magic. They've done this with a few really interesting wiring options, which we'll get into in a bit. But first, let's just hear some tones. The idea of the Player Plus series is to basically modernise that original Player series range of guitars, which I suppose had more vintage traditional specs. Across the really interesting Player Plus range of guitars, you'll see features like slimmer necks, noiseless pickups, interesting wiring kind of electronics, locking tuners, which is huge, 12-inch radius, and rolled fingerboard edges, all to kind of make it more accessible to a modern player, I suppose. Along with a selection of, I guess, more vintage colours and some slightly more newer, interesting colours. This here is aged candy apple red, and that's a bit deceiving because it's not relict or aged at all. It is more like a muted candy apple red, more like an orange or a brown. And let me tell you, it looks a lot better in person than it does on Fender's pictures. Power Fair fretboard, which is what we've come to expect these days. And you know what? This is pretty decent. It's got a nice figure to it, and it's also taken a nice treatment of lemon oil to darken it up and, you know, smooth it out a little bit. It's nice. Tones wise, up front we have those 3 noiseless single coils that I mentioned earlier. 2 Tele pickups and 1 Strat in the middle. And to my ears, they are quite modern sounding. I would say they're a little higher output than a vintage set of Tele pickups, but still sound good. And as the name suggests, they're completely noiseless. You know, you're not going to get any of that classic single coil hum, all without the power of a battery as well, which is pretty sick. Now, the electronics and switching system is where it gets really interesting for me, and it's where this guitar has its magic. So on a traditional or a kind of more normal Nashville Teles setup, you would lose the neck and bridge tone that is classic on a Telecaster, almost the heart and soul of a Telecaster sound. And on a Nashville Telecaster, you tend to lose that setting. It switches it more to more of a 5-way, a Strat 5-way switch, so in the middle you just get the middle pickup on its own. Now with the Player Plus Nashville Tele, they fixed that problem with a pull-push on the tone control. This engages the neck pickup on the 1 and 2 positions. This not only gives you back that Tele and that bridge and neck sound, which is sick, but also gives you a really interesting sound with all 3 pickups on at the same time. Now, before approaching this guitar, I had no idea what this would sound like. After some time, it kind of sounds like the neck and middle pickup together, you know, the 4th position, but maybe with a little more twang from the bridge. It's very close to sort of the neck and middle. Overall, I'm completely digging this Player Plus Nashville Tele. It reminds me of when I had my Telecaster set up with a middle pickup, and now I don't crave that sound anymore because it's right here. One thing I have had an issue with, and it kind of carries over from when I tried out that Player Series Mustang, and it's a problem with the string tree. Now with that Player Series Mustang, the string tree pulled the strings way too steeply. There was a massive break angle over the nut, and it just wasn't good for tuning stability or string breakages. Now it was an easy and cheap fix, or you just like £5 or £8 for a new string tree that did the job properly. Now they have sort of fixed that issue with this guitar, however they've gone too far the other way. Now there is almost a non-existent break angle over the nut, and I'm not even sure the high E string is even touching the string tree. So much so that if you're playing hard like I sometimes do, the high E string can actually pop out of the nut and kind of wrap around the headstock. Again, it's a very easy fix, you know, and cheap fix as well. You just get one of those kind of Graphtec Tusk string trees or any other string tree. I've got about 6 lying around that I'm just going to whack on here as soon as I finish this video. Other than that, it's a solid guitar. Build is solid. Finish is pretty much perfect, actually. The coat on the finish is really, really tasty. It just looks flawless. And the rolled fingerboard edges are nice. I really like the locking tuners, actually. That might be my favourite thing about this guitar. I'm really enjoying the swing that Fender is getting into with these new kind of interesting releases. It shows that they're still thinking. It shows that they're, I guess, trying to appeal to an ever-evolving modern guitar player while not upsetting the old vintage guys as well. Thanks guys for checking out the video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe and maybe check out some more. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers guys.